Perhaps all of us have experienced this feeling. You love someone, are deeply connected with a friend, or have placed your trust in a relationship to the extent that it has become a part of your life. Then suddenly one day, that person leaves, leaving behind an emptiness that nothing can fill. You sit there, helpless and bewildered, asking yourself, why did they change? What did I do wrong? Why can't I stop thinking about them? Sometimes, the silence hurts more than 1,000 words. That absence is like a ghost, subtly creeping into every moment of your life, making you feel both exhausted and desperate to hold on. This is precisely when Stoic philosophy, especially the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, becomes a lighthouse, helping us maintain balance and take control of our reaction to change and loss. In this journey, we will explore 7 key principles of Stoicism that will help you. Let go of the attachment to what you cannot control. Accept the impermanence of life. And most importantly, rediscover your freedom and inner strength. If you are carrying the burden of an unfinished love, a faded friendship, or a pain you can't quite name, come with me. Because perhaps this is the journey meant for you. Lesson 1. Embrace impermanence. We often want to believe that some things will never change, a deep friendship, an enduring love, or the presence of loved ones in our lives. But in reality, everything is in motion. Every relationship can shift, and even we ourselves are constantly changing. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, everything we see is change. There is nothing permanent. The Stoics did not view this as pessimism, but rather as a truth to be prepared for. When we understand that impermanence is the nature of life, we will value what we currently have even more. Impermanence doesn't take away the value of what we cherish. On the contrary, precisely because we know that one day they might leave, we can fully appreciate their beauty and significance right now, in the present. A warm meal with family, a simple conversation with a friend, or a sunny morning, all become more precious when we realize they won't last forever. Stoics also practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortunes or losses. This is not to sow fear, but to prepare our mindset, so that when a crisis arrives, we don't collapse, but can accept it with tranquility. By looking directly at impermanence, we learn how to live fully in the present. The past is merely a memory. The future remains only an image. And this very moment is all we truly possess. When we let go of the desire to hold on forever, we don't lose love or appreciation. Instead, we learn to love more deeply, more completely. Because ultimately, no one can keep anything permanent for themselves. But everyone can choose to live peacefully in the present. Lesson 2. Master your emotions. Emotions possess the power of waves. Just one careless word can weigh heavily on our hearts. An indifferent glance can become a fire that consumes our inner peace. Yet, if we allow external circumstances to completely dictate our mood, haven't we essentially handed the key to our tranquility over to others? Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This is because an event itself is inherently neutral. Happiness or sorrow is determined by how we interpret it. A moment of silence is sometimes just silence, but we can transform it into a cold shoulder or an estrangement. A brief remark might be due only to exhaustion, but when we attach a negative meaning to it, it instantly becomes an insult. It is these hasty judgments that become the chains binding our souls. Mastering emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending we aren't hurt. It means learning to pause, observe, and assess the wave of emotion using reason. When anger strikes, instead of reacting immediately, we can take a deep breath and ask ourselves, what truly happened, and what is merely something I'm imagining? That question acts as a necessary gap, allowing us to make a wiser choice or decision. The value of emotional mastery lies in this. We are no longer a rudderless boat drifting in a swift current. We can choose to remain silent instead of speaking hurtful words. We can choose to be tranquil instead of letting a momentary action ruin the entire day. Stoics believe that the very moment we restrain that initial reaction, we reclaim our soul's freedom. Because if we don't control our emotions, others will do it for us. A word from them, an attitude from them, will determine whether we are happy or sad, peaceful or tempestuous. But when reason speaks, we realize they can do what they want. But the power to determine how we react is in our hands. That is true freedom, a freedom that no external circumstance can take away. And it is precisely from that freedom that we learn to love more wisely. A friend, a relative, a lover, they may change, they may hurt us, but they cannot determine the entirety of our inner world. We can be sad, but not lose ourselves. We can be disappointed, but not let that pain define us. Mastering emotions through reason, ultimately, is about learning to become the pilot of our own lives. And when you grasp that steering wheel, you will see no one and nothing outside can crush you, unless you consent to let it happen. Lesson 3. Practice the premeditation of adversity. We often fear thinking about loss. We avoid mentioning the bad things that could happen, as if silence might prevent them from ever arriving. But the Stoics chose a different path. They proactively visualized misfortunes, not to sow fear, but to prepare their mindset. They called this premeditatio malorum, the contemplation of evils, misfortunes. At first glance, this might seem pessimistic. But in fact, it is a way to train the mind when we allow ourselves to imagine, what will I do if I lose this job tomorrow? How will I cope if a loved one leaves? We aren't inviting suffering. We are training the heart for resilience. It's like a soldier who trains not just on sunny days, but is also ready for unexpected storms. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself that the unexpected things may happen today. This reminder didn't make him live in anxiety. It helped him step into life with equanimity. Because if we have prepared for loss, we won't be surprised or devastated when it occurs. Practicing the visualization of loss also teaches us to appreciate the present more. When we close our eyes and think of a day when our parents are no longer here, a day when friends are scattered, or when we ourselves lose our health, we suddenly realize how fragile our everyday life actually is. And from that, a simple meal with family becomes warmer, an ordinary conversation becomes more memorable, and even the breath in our chest becomes a gift not to be taken for granted. Seneca once wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles removes their power when they arrive." When the mind has passed through the scene of loss multiple times, the fear no longer grips us like a stranger, but like a familiar guest. We don't welcome it, but when it arrives, we know how to face and accept it with composure. This practice does not turn us into pessimists, but, on the contrary, helps us to live more deeply. Because when we are conscious that everything might change one day, we will stop postponing words of love and stop wasting the present moments. And in the end, when loss truly happens, we will have not only preparation, but also a treasury of complete memories, because we have truly lived in every moment. Lesson 4. Focus on what you can control. One of the core principles of Stoicism is distinguishing between what we can control and what lies outside our reach. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, "If it is beyond your control, let it go." It sounds simple, but if we truly live by it, we will see how much our lives change. Try to recall the last time you were extremely worried about the result of an exam, a job interview, or a relationship. How many nights did you stay awake, spinning with worst-case scenarios in your head? But ultimately, did that anxiety change anything? You can prepare thoroughly, you can perform your best, but the final decision, the score, the feedback, or the other person's feelings, has never been entirely in your hands. Stoics do not deny fear or desire, but they choose to place their energy in the right place, on their own effort, attitude, and actions. Because the outcome may or may not come, others may love or leave. But the way we prepare, the way we live, the way we react, that is the part of life that belongs to us. Focusing on what we can control also does not mean being passive. It's not about sitting still and waiting. It's about acting fully within the part that is given to us. When you do your best in the present, you free yourself from the burden of things you cannot grasp. And no matter the result, you can hold your head high, because you have fully lived up to what you could do. The nature of freedom, according to the Stoics, is not controlling everything, but not letting what is beyond your reach control you. When one door closes, instead of agonizing, we choose to step through another. When others change, instead of desperately clinging on, we choose to uphold our dignity and calmly move forward. Ultimately, this lesson teaches us a simple truth. The world out there will always be uncertain, but our inner world can be steadfast. And only by knowing how to focus on what we control can we find true freedom, a freedom that no one can take away except ourselves. Lesson 5. Reframe your thoughts. In life, there are events that, the moment they occur, feel like a disaster. A crushing failure, a broken relationship, a door suddenly slammed shut in our face. All of it leaves us stunned, feeling as if all hope has been extinguished. But then, as time passes, we look back and realize that very fall opened up a new path. The thing that once caused us pain turned out to be the springboard for a deeper growth. Stoics see this as the power of reframing. Instead of only viewing adversity as a calamity, try to see it as an opportunity in disguise. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That quote is the guiding principle for this art. Obstacles are not there to stop us, but to compel us to go farther, be more resilient and wiser. Recall the times you thought you had lost everything. Maybe it was a job you had high hopes for that failed, only for you to later find a more suitable path. Maybe it was a broken relationship that led you to learn how to build a life independent of others. Everything was painful at the time, but looking back now, you realize those events didn't destroy you. They were what forged you into the person you are today. If we view failure as the end, it will kill our will. But if we view failure as a lesson, it becomes the start of a new journey. If we view loss as a final period, it will lead to despair. But if we view loss as a reminder to cherish what remains, it will make us live more profoundly. Reframing is not about painting reality in a rosy color. It's about looking at the truth from a different angle to find a meaning within it that helps us keep moving forward. That is why Stoics can move through adversity without being crushed. With every act of reframing, we reclaim ownership of our lives. Because when we cannot change the event, we can at least change the story we tell about it. And that story is what will determine whether we become bitter or strong, devastated or grown. Lesson 6. Set boundaries with compassion. Everyone wants to live a decent life, ready to help others when needed. But sometimes, that kindness is taken advantage of. You give your whole heart, while they demand more, rely more heavily, to the point where it exhausts you. You want to stop, but inside you feel tormented. If I refuse, is that selfish? Stoics clearly understood that compassion does not equate to infinite self-sacrifice. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do what is right for others, but do not let your soul be carried away like a slave." True compassion is not allowing yourself to be exploited, but knowing how to help within your means. Setting boundaries does not mean closing your heart. On the contrary, it is the way to make your love more sustainable. When you dare to say no to excessive demands, you are not being selfish. You are merely protecting your energy and your dignity. The truth is, if a relationship only survives when you constantly have to sacrifice and lose yourself, it was fundamentally unhealthy to begin with. The Stoics remind us, maintain humanity, but also have the wisdom to distinguish between helping and enabling, between loving and losing yourself. Setting boundaries with compassion doesn't make you cold. It helps you love wisely. Because genuine love is not about shouldering every burden, but about helping the other person become strong enough to walk on their own. And only when you maintain your own peace can that love truly be pure and long-lasting. Lesson 7. Look at the big picture. When a relationship breaks, when someone leaves us, the world feels like it's collapsing. In that moment, every thought, every feeling revolves around one person, one event. We forget that life is much, much larger. A pain, no matter how profound, is only one part of the long journey ahead. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Look at all things as if you were observing them from above, seeing the whole picture clearly: people, cities, the sea, the land, the universe." This statement is a prompt for us to step back, broaden our perspective, and realize that the pain of the present, in reality, is just a small piece in the whole mosaic of life. Looking back at previous years, perhaps you also went through a crisis that you thought you would never overcome. A failed exam, a breakup, a door abruptly closed in your face. At the time, you saw a darkened future, feeling like everything was over. But then, as time passed, looking back, you see that the whole thing was just a small section in a long book. The pain you once thought was unbearable is now just a few pages of memories. And you continued to move forward. You continued to grow. And you continued to live. The Stoics teach us the art of zooming out, pulling back the lens to see the overall view. When standing too close, a small scratch can obscure the entire picture. But when we step back, we clearly see life still holds countless opportunities, countless people, and countless new days. One person leaving cannot define your entire worth. A broken relationship cannot confine the whole future you are meant to live. Looking at the big picture also helps us let go of the attachment to momentary emotions. An instance of anger, a bout of sadness, a wave of disappointment. If viewed up close, they seem overwhelming. But when placed within the flow of an entire life, we see that they are small, fleeting, and will pass. And that very realization grants us tranquility. We are no longer submerged in the moment, but can stand firm in the overall view. This is not a way to deny our feelings, but a way to put them in their proper place. When we look broadly, we still feel the sadness, but we don't let it swallow our entire soul. We still regret a relationship, but we don't let it make us forget all the other things worth living for. Ultimately, this lesson reminds us that no single person, no single relationship can entirely define your life. You are greater than any pain. You are a long book, and a sad chapter is only one part of it. And when you dare to look at the big picture, you will see. Though the loss is real, life still holds countless things to continue. to be grateful for, and to love. Life is inherently full of change. People come and go, affection fades, and the things we hold on to today may vanish tomorrow. We cannot stop that flow, but we can learn how to stand firm amidst it. And that is what Stoic philosophy grants us. Peace does not come from clinging to others, but from holding steady to ourselves. When we understand impermanence, know how to master our emotions, set boundaries, and view everything in the big picture, we realize that no one can determine our happiness or our value but ourselves. Others may love or leave, praise or criticize, but only if we allow those things to define us do we truly lose our freedom. Stoics don't teach us to become apathetic. They teach us to love more wisely, to love without clinging, to give without depletion, to care without letting our own peace be swept away. It is the art of maintaining a heart that is both compassionate and free. And if there is one thing you carry with you from this journey, let it be this: you always have the power to choose the story you tell about your life. You can let the pain imprison you, or you can let it become the material for your growth. You can let the emotions of others sweep you away, or you can stand firm like a lighthouse, bright yet unshaken. If you wish to continue cultivating your inner resilience and finding peace amidst a life of constant change, please subscribe to the channel, share this video, and leave your thoughts below. Who knows? The story you share today might just become the inspiration for someone else on their own journey.